Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carlo Perusa MMA. We're about to put a smile on your face here Thanksgiving Day. He is UFC veteran, karate combat champion, Mr. Smilin Sam Alvey. Sam, what's going on, my man? How are you doing?
Hey, I am feeling great, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's awesome to have you on here. And, it's pretty cool when you look at your career. You started this at a time where combat sports and MMA wasn't really cool yet. I mean, you've been doing this for a very long time. And obviously, 20, 25 years ago, people were calling mixed martial arts human cockfighting. It wasn't legal everywhere. People thought it was like barbaric criminal activity. In the early days, when you first started doing this, your first few amateur pro fights, do you have any crazy stories of like fighting bars, barns, mystery opponents, bad medicals? Do you have anything nuts?
Uh, well, the medicals weren't a thing. Like when I started fighting there, you didn't need medicals. It's like, hey, do you have AIDS? No, it's all right. We're good to go. That was kind of a gentleman's agreement. uh, and there were no regulations. And actually, when I started fighting in Wisconsin, there was no, like I said, no commission, no nothing. And so there were fights. I'll bet you there were in 52 weeks a year. I'll bet you there were 47 fights a week or a month, or a year, 42 fights a year. I just constantly. And so I had years where I was just fighting back to back to back to back. It was so nice. And the coolest thing about back then is there were no managers. I mean, no one really. So if a fight was offered, you just say, yeah, okay, I'll take that. Now, even the damned amateurs turn down fights. It's like, and I don't get it. I said, first off, you're an amateur. Your career doesn't matter. There is no importance to it. You're hardly a fighter. You're an amateur. Uh, and they turned out, I don't like this fight because he's this or because of that. It's like, oh, good God, just go out there and get beat up. You'll be fine.
When you first started getting into this, did you ever envision combat sports, mixed martial arts to turn into what it is today?
Uh, I didn't know what it was back then. I was so blind to the sport. I started fighting. I was a band nerd. I started fighting, and I'd never heard of it, never watched it. Jackie Chan and Ninja Turtles were my inspiration behind fighting. Um, I didn't know there was a UFC. I knew of Mike Tyson, and I had heard of Muhammad Ali. And at one point, I heard Tyson bit someone's ear. I mean, that was like it for my knowledge in combat sports. So I didn't know it wasn't big. I didn't know it was small. I didn't know. I just didn't know. I knew I got a check for $200 every now and then, and I was willing to do it.
When we really first saw you mainstream was on The Ultimate Fighter. Was that process? How did you go by going on the reality show?
Yeah, so I we had to try out for it, and back then it was before the Contender Series. The Contender Series has kind of killed the Ultimate Fighter. Just I don't think it's a superior product, but it's easier to get fighters for the Contender Series, and it's easier for the turnaround. So when I was trying out for the Ultimate Fighter, I tried out for 205, and then they cut the weight class. And all right, next time I tried out for 85, and they cut the weight class. Like all right. Then I tried out for, you know what? I'll even try 70. And then they cut the weight class. So I go, oh, fine. I just won't do the Ultimate Fighter. And a season or two later, I actually got a call. Said, hey, can you still make 170? I said, who's asking? I said, the UFC. I said, yeah, I can still do it. I said, all right, you got 30 days. I said, ah. So I immediately started a crash diet to get on the Ultimate Fighter. And it was like 37 pounds in 29 days, which is doable, but not fun. And I went out there and I had a good first showing, put all the weight back on, and the second showing wasn't as good. But had a good time in the house, anyways. Got to meet a lot of guys. Neil Magny and I are still buddies. Trevor Whitman and I love Trevor Whitman. He's fantastic. And Shane Carwin is one of the nicest athletes I've ever met.
Did you like that whole idea of living in the house cooped up with a bunch of other professional fighters?
It was so boring. I was the Let Me Bang Bro season, which was 15 minutes of excitement. But other than that, it was 6.5 weeks of you don't have a TV, you don't have books, you don't have a radio, you have training once, maybe twice a day, and you were stuck in a house with a bunch of other fighter dudes. And all fighters talk about is fighting. So for 6.5 weeks, you get to talk about fighting with a bunch of people that are okay at it.
And now, was it pretty cool to be able to get picked in the first round of the little fantasy draft to pick the
I
team?
was the first round draft pick. Yeah, man. I knocked him out and I walked. I mean, it was a dream. Only way it could have been a better dream is had I won the show, but I did what I could, and the weight cut got me.
Following the Ultimate Fighter season, a few months later, you found yourself in the UFC. Eventually, got signed. Do you remember where you were? Do you remember the phone call that you were signed to the UFC?
Yeah, so I had fought after it was about a year and some change later after I left the Ultimate Fighter. I had fought and won the MFC title. I was a world champion up there, and I think I had 5 or 6 fight winning streak. I got the call. I was in California. I was in a house. I hadn't bought the house. I was still renting the house, but we were working on buying a house. And um, I was in the dining room. My wife was in the kitchen. I got a call from my manager at the time, Mark Pavlich. They said, "Britt, we got the call. We got the call." And we couldn't sign the contract fast enough. Immediately hung up. Talked to my wife more about it. Called my dad. Called everyone. Said, I'm in. I'm in.
You've had a time in the UFC where I really call it like kind of the golden era of mixed martial arts. There was a time where, you have the Anderson Silvas, the John Joneses, the
Mhm.
GSPs. They're successfully defending that belt over and over again. The UFC is great in this day and age. Obviously, there's so much more shows. The roster is so much bigger. It's
Mhm.
easier for regional guys to get on to the UFC now. But do you feel like the mystique is different from when you were in your heyday in the UFC to what it is today?
Yeah, they're not building superstars like they were back then. Back then, people weren't afraid to have a personality. Now, everybody tries to have the same personality, Conor McGregor's personality, and they're just all bad at it. There's no difference between any of the fighters and what they're trying to show they are, and it's upsetting. Every now and then, you get the Bryce Mitchells who really stand out, or you get that guy the ginger pirate looking guy with the one eye. Uh, he stands out, but I think it's more because every now and then you get someone who shows a little glimmer. But the GSPs, the Anderson Silvas, the personalities of the sport have disappeared a little bit.
I'm glad you mentioned the whole idea of personality. I think that's one of the biggest changes in mixed martial arts from the past 10 to 15 years. Obviously, I think Tito was the first one to really start to play that bad boy character. You had Chael Sonnen doing his thing.
Mhm.
John Jones, or Conor McGregor, sorry, comes around and, changes the whole plan, changes the whole
Mhm.
universe, revolutionizes it. Now you have guys who put on characters. They're people that they're not,
Mhm.
but they do it because they know they're going to get the title fight. They know they're going to get more
Mhm.
money. You have a personality. It comes natural. You're not really forcing it. Has personality changed mixed martial arts for good or worse?
The actual sport, not the actual sport, no, it's not changed it for good or bad. The sport's better than ever. The talent, the level of fighting technique has advanced to the point that it's just the people are really taking advantage of how good they can get at martial arts. But then the sales part of it, yeah, Connor changed the game. Connor came out and Chael could have had Chael beaten Anderson Silva. Had he not tapped with a minute to go, Chael would have been the guy. But it was a flash tap. It happened, and whatever. Um, Connor got in there and changed the world, and now everybody has to prove they're a jerk. And and it just comes off like everyone's trying to be Connor, and that I hate it. Nobody's rememberable because of it. You'll get a couple guys that have spectacular fights, and you will remember those guys. Like I love not Justin Gaethje, to Poirier. I love Poirier, but the last couple fights he's trying to do this Conor McGregor jerkhead persona, and it's like, dude, you've always been a nice guy. Be a nice guy. Let your fight stand for it, or just be yourself. When I'm coaching my amateurs and my young pros, I say, when you get that microphone, be yourself, just louder. I smile a lot naturally, so I make sure I get the microphone. I'm always gonna smile. It's me, just louder. Don't try and be someone else, because then you are just gonna be someone else. You're gonna be that guy who tried to be Conor McGregor.
You've had some great performances in your career. One I want to talk about Dylan Andrews, obviously the first one in the UFC. Walk me through that finish. You still remember it?
Yeah, I knocked him out with my ass. I'm the only UFC fighter in the world to knock somebody out with his ass. No, he was strong. Like, he was stronger than I was expecting, because he's kind of a tall, skinny dude. But he got a hold. He's like, ooh, he's really got me. But basic wrestling, he went for a suplex that just hooked the leg, and he pulled me down on top of him. My ass hit him in the face, and he was out as soon as we hit the ground. But the ref didn't stop it, so I felt his grip loosen, and I switched those hips and just finished as fast as I could.
Another big one that you're always going to be remembered for, obviously, Rashad Evans. I mean, a guy who was a former champion, huge name in the sport. What did that victory mean for you?
It was Rashad. I've always, I mean, everyone likes Rashad. He was one of those UFC tough veterans that had the personality. People kind of knew him because of he had that personality to him, and it was great. And then I got to meet him fight week, and he was all business. He's one of those fighters that won't look at his opponent, won't talk to his opponent, won't have any. Think, oh man, I really like you. I don't want this to be the case. We got out there and fought. We had a good fight. I'm pleased because he shot at me for 15 minutes and he never got me down. I stopped. It was D1 All American Rashad Evans. I stuffed him for 15 minutes, and I won that fight. And I was very pleased with myself.
Obviously another big one, Marcin Prashino. Beautiful finish there. Walk me through that one.
Yeah, is that how you say his last name? I've always called him Pracknell.
Oh,
I
okay,
have
Louis
no.
Packard now.
You
Maybe
could be
that's
right.
yeah.
I have no. I honestly have no idea. I'm just. Uh, I'm a kid from Wisconsin. I don't know how to say Polish names. uh, no, that was a good one. It was my first fight up at 205. Leading into the fight, I was at 85, and I kept asking, "Hey, do you have a fight?" They said, "We don't have anything for you now." I said, "If it helps, I'll fight at 205." Said, "All right, we got someone for you." I said, "Sweet." So they threw me Marcin Pracknell, big dude. Like he was big, and I watched him and watched a couple of his previous fights. Like he's got some skills to him. And then I landed that hook, and then I landed the choke, and he kind of got back up and just I mean he was on Queer Street, like he was not with us, but he was coming forwards, and I just put that final punch on him with the little Alvey ginger hook.
So many people, Sam, watch the UFC in this day and age. They watch MMA, Karate Combat, BKFC, and I think they look at the big names. They look at the McGregors, the Joneses, the Stipe's, and they're like, what a life. What a life it is to be a professional fighter. This is amazing. Little do they know the sacrifice that it takes to be a professional mixed martial artist is like nothing else in the world. Obviously, when you're in the regional scene before you get to the big paydays, you're not making much money at all. A lot of guys have that 9 to 5 job. They have kids, they have wives. You have to pay to train. You have to deal with killers who want it just as bad as you. You have to do this day in and day out. What's made you continue this journey for so long?
Oh, well, I've had success with it. I had found a way to make it work, and I agree with you entirely. I would not wish the fighter career on my worst enemy. Like it is, I have been blessed with having I in as modest as I can put it. I'm one of the most successful fighters that's ever been. I have found a way to make a living with this, where I didn't have to do anything else for a long time, and it just worked out for me. I won when I needed to. I had a personality people enjoyed watching fight, and I put on good fights, but you are one bad decision away from not having that career be what you can do. You are one judge that doesn't like you, that will change the course of your career forever. The UFC wants people who win and people who finish. If you get a really good decision victory, and one of the judges says, "I don't like you. I'm going to give you a draw or a split decision." Now you're a split decision. Now you're not going to the UFC. Now you have to win another time or two and get that finish. You get that more dominant, solid decision. It is a hard career. I actually it starts launches tomorrow. School SKOOL. I'm starting my own school page where I'm going to help coach whoever wants it. It's signing tomorrow. If you sign up tomorrow, it's free for you. And it's just helping people both in technique. I'm going to focus more on the striking side of things because it's hard to teach grappling over the online. But I'm going to focus more on the striking, the knockouts, the finishes, stuff like that. But then the political, the mindset side of fighting has always been where I've been the strongest, and I'm going to get to work with a lot of. I'm hoping to get to work with a lot of people on that side of things as well.
Do you think fighting's more mental than it is physical?
No, no, no. I mean, it's like any sport. There's a mentality to it. You have to be intelligent with it. It's the days of dumb fighters are long over. You have to be not only an intelligent fighter, you have to be an intelligent human being, because your paychecks come when you win and not when you lose, because you don't know when your last fight is going to be. You don't know when you're going to hit that skid where the judges just hate you. You don't know when it's going to happen, so you have to be prepared for it. I remember, and when it really sank in for me, I was supposed to fight. Who was I supposed to fight? A Brazilian cat. I don't remember his name. Okay, I lost to Derek Brunson. Oh, biggest fight of my life, got beat up. Oh, damn it. I said, it's okay. I'm going to rebound and I'll be back. I was supposed to fight this Brazilian cat. Sean Strickland broke my jaw. It's like, oh, no. So I was out for 6 months. So I lost. So I got half my paycheck. I had to pull out of a fight because I broke my jaw. Had to wait 6 months for my jaw to heal. Then I lost to terrible fight. Canadian fella.
Elias.
Yeah, Elias Theodoro. And if you ever watch the fight, don't watch it. It's a terrible fight. He outpointed me, like kicked at my shoulders, ran away, and I was not ready for that. I was like, God, I had nothing for it. I just couldn't catch him. But anyways, I came off that fight, come off loss. At this point, I'm in the UFC. I'm supposed to be the biggest, baddest person around, and I can't win a fight or make any money. It's like I can't do this. During that 6 months, I also had a baby coming, and my wife said she got a job at the gym. And my wife is like a biochemist in her spare time. Like she is the most intelligent person I've ever. And literally, she's got a double major, and she's working on a third one right now. But she didn't have a job at the time because I was fighting, and we're trying to do the stay-at-home parent thing. She said, "You know what? I'll get a job, a little part-time job at the gym to help cover everything until we're back on our feet." And it was at the end of that Elias fight, I said, I can't do this. I mean, I need to be smarter with my money. I can't spend it like I just want to fight. I have to spend it like I need this money until I get another job. And that was kind of an awakening moment for me. And from that point on, we saved our money because we didn't know when my jaw was going to break again. We didn't know when the well was going to run dry. And we did real well for ourselves because of it. But had I known that 6 months earlier, 6 years earlier, it could have been a so much more profitable career. Fighters have to get that in their brain early.
I really think MMA, combat sports in general, is really considered more of a business as it was. 20, 25 years ago, a lot of guys were doing this as a hobby, didn't think it was going to really amount to much. Do you think fighters have to be very strict and very selective with matchups in this day and age?
As an amateur, no. As a young pro, I would say no as well, to a point. All right, as an amateur, no. As a pro, maybe. When I was a pro, when I turned pro after like 4 months and 6 fights, all right, I'm a pro now. I still hadn't even started training. I just accepted fights and I get $200 a pop. So I go, this is great. That's why I've got over 80 fights because of that. I just fought a lot. Um, Now, though, the UFC is so driven by the undefeated, kind of like boxers are. Like you could see guys in the UFC now that are 4-0. I think there was one gal off the Ultimate Fighter who was 1-0 making her UFC debut. Um, or 0-1, excuse me. That no loss is so much more important. I now tell my young pros, pad your record, fight chumps. If you can get your friends to fight you and just lose, do that because it is more important to have the wins than it is to have the impressive win. Because on Tapology, on MMA Junkie, and wherever, you have the green check mark instead of the red check mark. Nobody cares who the fighter was. They care that you're 8-0 is more important than 12-2.
Obviously, in this day and age, so much more people watch mixed martial arts and combat sports. You have now the term the casual fan. So these are the fans that if you go to B dubs, if you go in the cheap seats, who might be yelling, twist them in the what, stop humping, booing, they're
You know
drunk.
that was my fight, right?
Really?
My fight was it was Dylan Andrews, guy in the audience, yelled, kick him in the dick, and the arena erupted. That was my fight, Dylan Andrews.
What do you think of it? Do you think we need them? Do you get annoyed by it? Do you think it's fun?
No, I think the actual definition of a casual fan is anyone that disagrees with you about MMA topics. I think that's what it is because it's an insult that's thrown around to anyone that disagrees. I get called a casual fan often enough. So yeah, you're probably maybe you're right. Uh, it's a sport. Enjoy the sport. I love football. I love football. I like it more than I like MMA. I don't understand football nearly as much as I understand MMA, but I'll still call the wrong play out at the TV. Maybe I'm a casual. Maybe I called it right. Maybe should have been on my way. No, this sport would be nothing if not for people that watch it in their spare time, watch it every now and then. Um, and it's only a matter of time till they see that one fighter that really hooks them. So, oh, that fight was great. Ooh, that fighter. Oh, that guy, this guy. I've got mom because I'm the smiley guy. I've got moms that don't watch fighting but love me. That tune in to watch me fight because they like the smiling nice guy. So yeah, that's me, I guess. And then I'm a ginger doesn't hurt. People love gingers.
You know,
As much shit as we take online, the truth is people love gingers.
later here in your career, you found a lot of success in karate combat. When you first saw the concept, were you instantly hooked to the idea?
Yeah, I was at my kids' soccer team postseason party, And I saw online Raymond Daniels, who's a buddy of mine, say, "Hey, I'm fighting tonight. Make sure you turn in. It's be live on their YouTube." I said, "Okay, I'll tune in." So I was sitting on a couch, just being being the guy that's just not talking to any of the parents, and I started watching it. I said, "Dude, this is intense." I said, "Here I go," and then the party guy came on. "Hey, I can put it on the TV." I said, "Okay, let's do that." So I started watching it right then with my kid, and everyone else was having a party. I watched my first Karate Combat, and it's so much faster paced than MMA, because you don't have to worry about the wrestling. It is the premier striker league. Everyone talks about K1, like K1 was the best at their. Karate Combat is the same skills, same talent pool, but it's a better format, and the pitches makes it even cooler.
A very impressive victory for you was Ross Levine, obviously a guy who's finding a lot of success, lower division. He came up. Overall, what are your thoughts on that performance?
I loved it. Ross was. I knew it was going to be one of my tougher fights. Like they offered me the fight. It was a little short notice. I think it was like 4 weeks, but hey, it's fine. I'm always game. Um, and I knew how good he was. Like on top of his like karate combat record, if you look at his karate record, he's got like 7,000 victories or something. He was just fast, smart. He listens to his coaches and he fights well. So it was a big win. I was nervous is the wrong word. I'm never nervous for a fight, but I was very aware of how good he was. Now, that day I woke up and I was sick as a dog. Like I like couldn't catch a breath. I was just dying. Like, oh man. And I said, I slept poorly. I'm gonna sleep. So I slept, I woke up and it's just not kicking. So I talked to all my coaches, my wife and my teammates that brought out with me. He said, "Hey guys, I need you guys to spar me like hard, like 100%. If you cut me, you cut me. I want you to beat the brakes off me, or I need to get that adrenaline bump now." And so in the back, my wife did for 1, 3, and 5, and my teammate did 2, 4, and 6, and we went hard back there. I think I broke his nose. I think. And then we just beat, but it worked. Like by the end of it, I was sweating and breathing. All right, then I had time to catch my breath, but that adrenaline spike kicked in, and I was feeling good. Went out there and then had a pretty good performance there too.
Earlier this year, we saw some craziness at one of these karate combat shows. President Awesome had to go in and actually, choke somebody out. You were involved in that as well. What was that whole thing like?
Yeah, he choked that guy out with my arm. he choked somebody out using my arm to do it. It was great. No, it, so all week long, the opponents, and I couldn't remember the name if you paid me, they were jibber jabbering at each other. Way in, they're shoving and blah, 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 blah. I'm better, you're better, blah. They were just going at it. They finally fought, and the fight was incredible. I mean, it was a really good fight that was overshadowed by what happened afterwards. Uh, it went to the guy who won was like dead on the mat at the end of round 3, maybe it was 4, because Karate Combat doesn't do if it's a split decision, it goes to 4th. So it was either the end, it was the end of the fight, the last minute of the fight. The guy who won was just dead. Now, I had him winning. I thought he did enough, even though had it been one more round, he would have died, because the other guy still had something in the tank. It was a good fight. They announced the winner, and it went for the guy who was dying at the end of the fight. I said, okay, you know what? I agree, even though it was close, I wouldn't have complained either way. And then they kept jibber jabbering at each other. And the coaches, that the coach got involved. The coach of the losing team, like 2 of them jumped around the cage. Said, "Screw it, we're going at it." And they jumped in. I read it as soon as the 2 jumped in. I said, "They're going." So President Awesome got out there, and then the 2 jumped in. So I jumped in too because it's not going to be 2 on my president. And one got pushed off. The other one like was really making a beeline. So I kind of got in his way and stopped as best I could. And then as he's fighting, President Awesome got up and put the old people's elbow to him, uh, finished to stop the fight. And then the coolest thing of all, President Awesome then said, you're not banned. Adrenaline gets it. We're gonna give you another shot. You're gonna fight one of my guys next, or something like that. It was like the coolest response ever.
Last time out, very impressive victory over Arroyo for you. Were able to finish him there in the 4th round. Walk me through that finish.
I felt it. By the end of round one, I felt he didn't have it. I felt he was already slowing down, and I wasn't. He threw everything he had. It didn't come close to hitting me. I got him to run from me once again. By the end of round one, I knew he wasn't going to win. Round two was all right. Now we're going to start putting up the pressure. We're going to suck that wind out of you. I wanted to finish him in round three. In round three, I went out there and I just couldn't find that shot. Round four, I found the shot. Round four, I got to suplex him twice. Big pickup, big dump, punches off the while he's turtled up. Started yelling at the ref because Arroyo wasn't standing up fast enough. You know, in karate combat, if he goes to the ground, you can keep fighting until your knees touch. So I'm doing everything I can, but as soon as my knees touch because he squirms or whatever, all right, stand up. So I stand up. I'm sitting there pacing. Get your ass back up. And he's sitting there cross-legged. I say, "Yeah, get up! I want to finish this." And he wasn't. I started yelling at the ref, Stop the fight! He's done. Stop the fight!" And it was about as much fun as I've ever had in a fight. It was during that one.
Do you feel like you've emerged as the face of this organization?
I like to think I have. I'm still building. You know, I've defended my belt once, almost twice, and I'm fighting as much as I can. I'm being as public about it as I can. Here in the next month, my social media is really going to take a swing for. I'm going to own the karate combat title, but I'm the guy people think of. So I like to think I am, but I'm still got more to prove.
All right, Sam, last question for you, man. What's next for you, man? When do you want to be back out there?
I want to be out there today. If you give me the opportunity, I'll sign any contract right now. You put me in as fast as you can. I will be there and I will win. The more pressing thing is, like I said, I'm starting my school. If you go to my Instagram page at Smilin Sam, the name's right there on the bottom of the screen. You go to the links in the bio. You can sign up, and I'll get. I don't suspect it's going to be a huge group, so it'll be a very intimate setting where I'll be able to talk to the fans that want to learn something from somebody who's been around for 80 fights, 20 plus years, UFC, karate combat champion, somebody who's been there and done it. So it's my school, SKOOL. It's Smilin Striking School.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time on this holiday to talk to me. I really appreciate it, my friend, and wish you and your family very nice, happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, thank you very much. You have a good one, my friend. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. That's it for us today. That is Smilin Sam Alvey. I'm the Fight Dr. Carl Prusa. Stick around, fight fans.